Christie?
Oh, actually, I'm so sorry. First, we have to approve absences, right? Or is that
You would do it afterwards.
afterwards?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Christie?
Present.
Dana?
Present.
Dan?
Present?
Andrew?
Present.
James?
Present.
And then, could I have a motion to approve Stuckey's absence, please?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. All right, so that absence is approved. Are there any additions to the agenda?
Nope, I don't have any.
Okay. Looking out in the crowd, doesn't look like there's any guests that need to be introduced.
Nope.
Okay. And so I guess there's no public comments on non-agenda items as there's no people. Would you mind reading the disclaimer, please?
Yes, not a problem. One second, let's scroll down to Chapter 16, Section 22 of the City of Kalamazoo Code of Ordinance states that historical preservation is a public purpose. To serve that purpose, the Historic District Commission is hereby charged with the following responsibilities. A, the Kalamazoo Historic District Commission is empowered to regulate work on the exterior of historic resources and non-historic resources in historic districts in the City of Kalamazoo, and shall otherwise have all powers invested in historic district commissions pursuant to the Local Historic Districts Act, MCLA 399201, 1970 PA 169, as amended 1992. B, to regulate work on resources which, by city ordinance, are historic or non-historic resources located within local historic districts, including but not limited to the moving of any structure into or out of, or the building of any structure in an historic district. The following documents are available in the Community Planning and Economic Development Department located at 245 North Rose Street. These documents will help assist property owners in understanding the responsibilities of owning property in a local historic district. MCLA 399201, 1970 PA 169 as amended 1992, which is the Michigan Local Historic District Act. The Code of Ordinances of the City of Kalamazoo, Michigan, Chapter 16, Historic Districts. The Secretary of the Interior Standards for Rehabilitation and Guidelines for Rehabilitating Historic Buildings, 1990. Standards and Guidelines for Kalamazoo Historic Districts and Maps of Kalamazoo Local Historic Districts. These documents and maps are also available on the City of Kalamazoo website at www.kalamazoocity.org/historic preservation.
Thanks so much, Luis. So it looks like we have no old business to attend to, so we're going to move on to new business. Do we have a person queued up in the calling, or do we just start at the top?
We'll just start from the top, and I'm just going to go ahead and open it up, and we'll wait for the first caller to come in with us. Here we go. Hello.
Hi.
I think that actually your case is the next one up. Is this Laura?
This is.
Okay. I'm going to wait for one more call to come in because there's another case that's before you, and then we'll get you back into the queue.
Okay, no problem.
Cool. Thank you. Hello.
Hi there, this is Kevin.
How's it going, Kevin?
How you doing?
Can you hear us all right then, I assume?
Yep, I can hear you now. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Hi, everyone.
If you could just state your full name for the record, and then you can start to tell us a little bit about your project.
Okay, awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin Yan. We're at 516 Oak Street. Looking to do a couple of items here. First would be the garage. It's in pretty bad shape. We're looking to demolish the garage. Doesn't really, it was built after the home, so it doesn't really have any historical character to it, and it is actually in really bad shape. So that is the first item that we're looking to take care of. Should I proceed to the second one, or?
Yep, you can present everything all at once.
Okay, cool, thanks. The second item would be we want to go ahead and remove one of the windows that's actually placed right in the shower. The window's already not sealed properly because it's louvered. It doesn't seal completely, so there's actually air, water, and bugs coming through. So we're looking to remove the window and then seal it in properly with insulation and then with the proper siding and then paint to match everything on the side there. The third item would be towards the back of the home. There are two windows that lead to nothing, and they're actually not sealing properly as well too. Rainwater is getting in. There's actually a plant that has grown from the outside in, crawled into the window. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting setup there. So what we're trying to do is we want to remove both of those windows and again insulate and then re-side and paint to match the existing siding.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks for the information. When we're looking at the window to be removed from the bathroom, which image is that? Is it the bottom corner?
The louvered window that Kevin was referring to is number 3, the bottom left. It's on the number 3, the bottom left picture. Sorry. Yeah.
And which window is it? Is it the one that's the only window on that one wall? Oh, it's up there on the second floor there?
Yep, it's on the second floor. Sorry. Yep. So there's a small square louvered window that's next to a door. The one it's on the second floor, and the opening that's next to that is a door.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for him or comments?
The two windows, those are on the back of the house, is that right?
Correct. Yep. It's towards the back of the house. Yep, absolutely. And you'll see that there's two pieces of wood. That's actually the back of a shower bathtub insert. So these windows lead to nothing.
Okay.
This house is on Oak Street, so the main facade is facing east on this house. The two windows on the first story are on the north side, so they're not on the rear, you could say, of the house, but they're toward the rear of the house, down the driveway. And then the other window is on the south side of the house on the second story. So they're both on the sides of the house, not on the eastern facade there.
It kind of looks that maybe the smaller bathroom window is not an original window as well. Like probably that door was a window.
Yeah, my guess would be that window is not an original one because of the placement, and certainly the glass in it is not original. Then when you look at the other two windows that he's speaking about, just to clarify too, the windows are gone out of that opening. There's just storms on the outside. There are no primary windows inside of that hole.
And that also looks like an addition too.
I would have to guess. I'm not sure what year it was, but since it has a cinder block foundation, I don't think that it was built at the same time of the rest of the house.
And then one other thing, do you have any information on the garage? Did you see it on?
I went out and looked at it with Kevin. Didn't go inside of it. Certainly not an original garage by any means. The siding on it is board and batten, vertical siding on that one. And we did not go into it, but Kevin did indicate that there is some animal infiltration into the garage.
Okay. I guess if no one else has any comments, I guess my point of view is the two windows that lead to old plywood. I don't really see any issues with removing those because it's not, the original part of the house. And then the other bathroom window, seems like it was added sometime in the history as well. So I guess my instinct is that would be fine to be removed. And then the garage, kind of in the same thing. It seems like it was added, way later, and I don't see it contributing
I think we should take these as two separate requests, one for the demolition of the garage, because those are different standards.
Yeah.
And then the removal of the windows. I don't disagree with you. On the windows, yeah, they are neither, or do not look original, nor are they character defining. So I would have no problem approving their removal.
And I think, Dana, you made a great point, and I'm glad you did, and I broke them up in the packet as well, because the classes of work are different, so the motions that will need to be made for both. One class of work is the certificate of appropriateness class of work, and the other one would be the notice to proceed class of work for a demolition. So just as you guys are going to make motions, just be conscious of that.
Awesome. Would you like to make that motion, Dana?
With respect to, are we done discussing? Because I have a discussion point for the demolition of the garage.
Okay.
I don't think that it is character defining. I went to look at it. It doesn't look like it fits the house. But the requirements are, I'm a little hesitant about animal infiltration because it seems like that could be, the owner of the property could have done something to prevent the animal infiltration. So it's kind of, I didn't take care of it and now it's a hazard, so I need to take it down. I'm not saying anything to you, the applicant, I'm just saying generally that's what that argument sounds like. And I'd just like to hear from the other.
You're talking about kind of what we had dealt with a few months back as far as like demolition by neglect, which is, I think, the legal term for when something's been neglected long enough that then the city doesn't have any alternative rather than removing it. It seems like this isn't quite that far. It sounds like, Luis, correct me if I'm wrong, but that the animal infiltration is sort of secondary to some of the other concerns.
Yeah, certainly. So yes. And I know that in writing that, animal infiltration probably does not deem itself immediately to be a hazard. I just know that recently I was looking at another case where mold was deemed to be one, and I didn't know if excrement from animals would fall into that category or not. I think that too, then when looking at the other one that I cited, which was not in the interest of the majority of the community, is the other one. That's why I wrote those both down. The other two are certainly not applicable in this case. But yes, you were correct, Andrew, yes.
I understand the, I guess, concern of like setting a precedent by, approving something that was, as you said, like kind of neglected, or that just, again, as you said, generically, that could be a concern for the future. With this particular garage, I was looking at some of the neighboring houses and don't see any other garages like it either, so it really doesn't seem to have any historic value or neighborhood consistency. So I have no problem with it being taken.
So that would, okay. I know I'm kind of railroading your.
No, railroad.
So for the demolition, then I would take Louise's advice and I would move to issue a notice to proceed as to the demolition of the garage, because retaining this resource is not in the best interest of the majority of the community because it does not look original, it's in great disrepair, and it is not a character-defining feature of the property. That's my motion.
That's your motion?
That is my motion.
Yeah. Second?
I will second that motion.
All right. Could we have a roll call vote on that, please?
Christy?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Awesome. So Kevin, just to make it clear now, so the demolition of the garage was approved, and then there's the matter of the windows that remains.
And does anyone else have any more comments on the windows? And anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve a certificate of appropriateness for the work as described in the application for the windows.
I'll second the motion.
All right. Could we get a roll call vote on that, please?
Christy? Yes. Dana?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Okay, Kevin, so all of the proposed work was approved. I'll be in touch with you tomorrow to send over the paperwork electronically, and I'll also mail it to you. I'm not sure when that one will get to you, and we can continue to talk if you have any more questions about anything in the future with the property.
Awesome. Thank you, Louis. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.
You too, thank you. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you? Is this Laura?
This is.
Okay, thank you. If you could just state your full name for the record real quick, and then you can go ahead and describe the property, and if you could state the property address as well.
Sure. Laura Strong, and I'm calling today about 1207 West Lovell. In the back of the house at some point, there was an addition put on. It actually looks like there was a first or a main floor and a second floor patio that was eventually at some point enclosed and made into rooms. Because they were patios or decks, there was not a proper foundation put underneath them. So after several years of using them as such, the foundation has started to come out from underneath the main floor decking or that patio there. I did actually have 3 different contractors come out and look at it in addition to meeting with Louise. And, you know, there's, in a typical fashion, you should be able to cut out a part of the foundation, jack the structure back up, and then refill that foundation. However, because this wasn't originally built as a load-bearing, you know, living space, that we're unable to do that. So after getting a couple different people coming out to take a look at it, it seems to be in the best interest to take this 2-story addition down, and that would bring the house back to its original, because it does look like it was added at some point. And then after taking that down, we would like to put obviously a deck back out back to kind of bring it back to that original state.
Thank you for that information. Yeah, the deck that you're planning on putting back, is it going to be like a porch, or what is your thoughts on that?
Very similar. You can kind of see it in the picture you have up right now that's already there. So it would be a small deck off the back with a railing. It looks like it was there originally at some point, and it was built on top of.
Would you build a covering over the top as well, like a roof over the top?
No, it would just be the single floor on that main floor right there, just a small deck.
Could you tell us more about your plans for how you'll refinish the exterior after the porches are removed? Specifically asking, do you plan to side it to match the rest of the home? Or I saw a note in the application discussing composite shake siding. Curious if you could articulate that.
Sure. So the original part of the house is all stucco. And this back addition is some kind of old shake appears. So we've been researching some options. You know, obviously it's going to be up to you guys to help us decide if our best option would be to put up some sort of cedar shake in the back to attempt to match what the addition had on, or if we want something that looks more like some of the other house, like the house next to us we also own that has cedar, that has a shake on it. It's an old shake. Around the corner we own a home on stone that has wood siding. So I'm looking for some direction from you guys as well to kind of help what would best suit the home. Obviously you can see all the second story, all those are old windows that we would be willing to donate to you guys if you guys wanted to, if anyone had any use for them. And the 2 windows on the first floor, we plan on reusing to put back in so that there are windows on the back of the house. but siding, I'm open to suggestions, ideas. Ideally, we would like to put like a vinyl shake, but I know that'll probably be frowned upon. But I thought I would ask. If not, a cedar board, a shake. We're open to suggestions.
On the page that is up right now on the screen, page 17, above the second story windows there, it looks like that's the horizontal like wood siding, but it's not the shakes. Am I seeing that correctly?
Correct.
Okay. And that is not part of the addition that would be demolished, right?
Correct. As far as we can see, the only part, the second story of the non-addition in the back looks like it had horizontal wood siding, and you can, like you said, you can see that up top, and that's what it looks like is on the side, but there's not much showing to see. So, you know, I don't know what kind of condition it is or what we can do, but we can see what's there.
And that's the only part of the house that has that siding, right? You said the rest is stucco, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Just pulled it up on Google, and the front of it has fish scales. It's not uncommon for the back of a home to not have the same fancy things that a front of a home had by any means. So I'm sure that siding that's on the gable or gambrel on the back of the house is original, but when they were building these houses, they probably didn't want to go all out to put the same architectural detail on the back of the house that would only be seen by the property owner, and it wouldn't be street facing where everyone could come by and see it.
So then it would be a recommendation to, basically, if you look at the picture that's up, you can see that bit of horizontal siding that's the same as that's on the back that you pointed out. Putting that back in would be our preference, because when this is taken off, curious about, like, you know, if it's just going to be a blank wall, or are you going to put windows back in? Because I'm sure there was like probably a set of at least 2 windows or something.
Correct. We would like to reuse the windows that are already on that first floor that we'll be demolishing, and we would like to put one back on the main floor. That's actually, that wall goes to a dining room. So that would be on the dining room wall, and then upstairs on the bedroom on the second floor, we would put a window in there. So it'd be one in the bedroom and one in the living room, or one in the dining room, excuse me. And then there currently is already a door there that used to be the exterior door, but it's quite old and shambled in wood, so we would like to put in a new exterior door to be up to the rental code.
And then, yeah, I will just say that we would, I think I can speak for all of us, prefer not to see any vinyl shingles or siding or anything like that. And so if you could do stucco on that first floor, continue with what was there, and you probably will discover it's probably still there after you take this away, and you might be able to just restore what's there.
Yeah, that would be ideal. That would make us very happy.
So, Luis, I assume that what we're approving is the removal, because we don't actually have physical plans or drawings of the finishing. So I notice here it says, as the proposed work constitutes an unaddressed exterior alteration, the work will require Historic District Commission review. Does that mean the applicant needs to come back to us with details about a finish, or is that something that can be approved administratively? What are we actually needing to approve here? Because we've been having some discussion about how it could be finished, which I think is helpful, but we also aren't actually making any decisions on that right now. It sounds like what we're deciding is about the removal on its own. Am I right?
Yeah, and I would, I guess, field it back to you all as well. I think that the removal of this would inherently facilitate at least some kind of cladding to be put back on. Then you guys can also speak to the window configuration and stuff if you would like, and if you're comfortable with that as well, as it was just proposed by the applicant. But to me, as you were saying, Andrew, the cladding or finishing of the exterior home, and I'm sorry that I wasn't more clear with it, it is just an inherent thing that will need to be addressed as soon as this porch is taken off from the property.
And it sounds like there's some unanswered questions as to what the state of the building looks like behind the addition. So it sounds like they don't necessarily know even what the possibilities are until it's been removed.
Yes.
So I think my question is, as far as our potential actions, it is that if we are moving to approve a certificate of appropriateness for the work as described, the work as described is the removal, right?
Yes,
Okay.
you guys could certainly alter the motion if you would like as well.
Right,
Yep.
okay.
But thank you, yes, that was a good question.
That's a good point. What's that? Okay, so does anyone else have any discussion specifically on the removing of the back?
So I'll say also, just because I think it's probably good for it to be on the record, so I am a former tenant of the applicant, and I lived in this building. It was well over 10 years ago, and I don't think that matters. When I saw it, I was like, oh, cool, I know that building. I can see why they would want to remove it. Also, as I'm sitting here now, I'm wondering, it's probably something that should be disclosed just in case there's, for any reason, seen as a conflict of interest. I can't imagine there would be, but I figure it's worth mentioning.
I wasn't 100% sure if it was the same Andrew, but hey, how's it going?
Hi, it's good to see you, or hear from you.
I think as it was 10 years removed, I'll let you decide upon that if you think that there's a conflict of interest or not. As you are not a current tenant of the building, I do not see one right now, but as I said, I'll field it back to you to see what you want to do with it.
I wouldn't think that there would be an issue, but I figured that I would mention it so that my fellow commissioners understood that was, I have more knowledge of this building than most.
I think if you feel you can be objective, I have no problem with that, but thank you for your honesty.
I do, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Christy.
Do you have any insight on what the inside of this room looks like, or?
No, it's been long enough that I honestly can't remember. I do remember there being, it basically looks like a sleeping porch. It was charming and a little scary.
I would agree with you.
All right, well then, does anyone want to put forth a motion approving it as written? Or adjusted?
I move to approve the demolition of a non-original two-story enclosed porch on the rear of the property as described, as the work complies with Secretary of Interior standards.
And I will just ask then before the motion goes forward, if you all would like to address the other things as well, then you can make another motion for that too. Sorry to interrupt.
Seconds?
I'll second the motion.
Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Christy?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
So is it a motion? The motion that we passed just said we approve the certificate of appropriateness for the demolition. It didn't say anything about anything else. So I guess we would expect the applicant to
Come back?
I mean,
to come back with plans on, after you've discovered what it is lurking behind this addition and have discussed it with your architect and builders, we'd like you to come back with some plans for review.
And I think we also have the option, if I remember correctly, to delegate that responsibility to the historic preservation coordinator, with the understanding that if it seemed like what was revealed was a big enough change that it needed to come before the committee or the commission, that it could, just in the way that any other would be sent, right? That is also an option that we have, is to say that we can move. I think I just lost my mic. There it is. Yep. That we can move to delegate the responsibility of the finishing of the project to the historic district.
Yep.
Or historic district coordinator. Yes.
Yes. And if you guys were to do that, I would just ask for specificity in what you are delegating when the motion was made, if that was to be the case.
Okay.
Would-
So
would
basically, we have options. So we can ask that they come before us again, or we can say Luis can bring them in front of us again if needed. I think those are, in my mind, the two possibilities there. Does that make sense?
If you could speak on the mic. Yep.
Yeah, okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so I think that would be a great motion, like, to propose it that Luis approves it unless it dramatically alters the, you know, the situation, and then at that point, bring it back to us to approve. So that would be the motion, I don't know.
So the motion would include then administrative approval of a new exterior door, the new old windows, where they go, and then the cladding, yeah, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And currently, underneath the standards and guidelines, the replacement of non-original rear doors, and then there's other language that just says the replacement of rear doors can be administratively approved, currently underneath the standards and guidelines. But yes, you touched on the things that I believe are before us right now from the applicant, yes.
And I do believe, though, added on to would be like, probably there's going to have to be a staircase, right? An external staircase if there's
And the deck.
no deck. So it does get to be kind of some big changes, I guess.
But I do think because they're in the rear of the structure, all of those things could be administratively approved.
Okay.
Well, and didn't we on Davis Street just approve the other deck that wasn't technically attached to the house, and this one seems kind of similar? I guess, what do you guys think?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm gonna, all right, I guess we have to vote on that motion.
I did not make a
I think
motion.
there's too much here. I think there's too much here. I want to see drawings. I want to see what happens. I want to see what, as the applicant's plans develop. I mean, they're talking about a deck. They're talking about discovering what is behind this facade, trying to match it. I have complete faith that they'll come up with some appropriate ideas, but I want to see it.
Would you
There's
like
too
to-
many moving parts.
Would you like to make that motion then?
Well, I think we have a motion on the, oh, we don't, oh, you don't have a motion on the table. Oh, okay, so, so I'm moving that the applicant come back. Okay, I'm moving that the second part of the applicant's proposed project, which is the reinstalling of windows, doors, new cladding, and potentially a new deck, be brought before the committee when the applicant's plans are more formalized.
I second the motion.
Could we get a roll call vote for that, please?
Kirsty,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes?
Dan,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Okay, Laura, so just to be clear, the demolition of the rear porch was approved, and then we'll work to get you back next month to have some drawings and stuff for what you guys plan on doing with the exterior cladding, the configuration of the windows, and any exterior steps and the deck that we discussed today.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, that'll give us some time to rip off some of that and see what we find.
Yep, and so I'll send the paperwork out to you tomorrow, and then we can also talk tomorrow about next steps regarding the project as well.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you,
Yep,
everybody.
Yep, thank you for your time.
Thanks so much.
Yep, have a good one. Bye-bye.
All right. Now we're moving on to 200 Stewart, which there is no call-in for that, right?
I just got a voicemail, so 1 second. Not for the applicant. So as of now, the applicant has not called in. It is open. I think that I'll probably just give it a couple more minutes, and if no one calls in, it's completely your guys' prerogative if you want to move on this or postpone the application.
Did you have conversations with the applicant about why they might or might not be calling in?
So my contact that I've had thus far has just been with the applicant, yes, but with the contractor. I have not touched base with the contractor's been the one that's been filling out all the paperwork and stuff.
Oh.
I'm not sure if they knew that this was a requirement up first anyways, so I think that's why I've been dealing with the contractor, not with the property owner. and they've been handling all of the permitting, it seems, not just mine. And I didn't get a clear sense, I don't believe. I could go back through the emails, but I didn't get a clear sense.
Does anyone have any thoughts, opinions on?
Well, if it were the applicant, I might feel a little differently, but this is one removed from the applicant. This is the,
Well, the contractor was the applicant, which is
oh,
not.
okay. Oh, okay,
The
all right,
contractor was
okay.
the one that has applied for everything, not the owner. They did
Okay.
get all the necessary. Sorry. The applicant
Okay.
was, I can't remember what company it is, but the solar
Okay.
installer was.
So
Yes.
that's the, I didn't see that.
Since I'm relatively new to this, has the commission approved other similar projects before with solar panels?
Yeah, I don't think we've had one that's been denied so far.
No, the only difference that I'm noticing with this one is that in the past, they've generally been on one side of the roof, face, like whatever the south, south facing side would be, and are potentially less visible from the road. That was the only thing that I noticed about this, is that it's on every surface of the roof. So it's slightly different. I think that what we've landed on in the past, as far as sort of reviewing similar discussions and keeping in mind that precedent is not how this group works, right? That each case is individual. But one of the standards that we've turned to before is that it does not significantly alter the structure, and they are removable. So similar to the comment about the deck, that it's an addition that is not permanent. So that these solar panels are something that is layered on top of the roof, they're not removing the roof, and that the alterations required to install them are similar to installing a sign, like what we talked about with downtown. So I think that if that helps as far as kind of where we landed before. But again, to me, the big difference that I noticed here is that while it is a very shallow pitched roof and would be hard to see unless you're far away from it, they are on every part of it, including the parts that are facing the road.
And the garage as well.
Are they in the garage too? I only noticed images.
I don't think,
I think it's just the dark
Okay, so.
pieces
I
there.
wondered why they didn't put them on the garage.
I was
I
reading
bet
the
the garage is too
garage.
shaded.
Okay, I was reading the shading of garage, as something was going there too, so.
I think it's just showing the pitch.
Ah,
I think those are,
Okay.
the panels I think are just the, those groups of three. Each one's a group of three.
I think what Andrew said is important to remember, that none of these cases, I believe for the history of the Historic District Commission, have been precedent setting. And then it's, I think, good to allude back to important not to get that too confused with the interpretation and the using of the Secretary of the Interior standards, which should truly guide all of the decisions that we make along with our standards. But you did just allude to Standard 10, which said that if things go on, they should be able to be removed in the future without damaging or obstructing or drastically, and I don't have the language in front of me, but of altering the historic character of the building.
I think it says solar panels can be removed in the future without altering the essential form and integrity of the roof, which is a character-defining feature.
So other than these being more visible from the street than we've seen in the past, does anyone else have any other concerns or comments?
I don't.
Okay.
I will say too, and I don't know. Casey, will you bring up the pictures that I took? I know I'm not the tallest person, but
It's
I could
hard
not
to
see the top of this structure from the street.
Yeah.
That bottom left picture, I feel like, is the only one that you could theoretically see them, or the only angle at which you could see them.
Yep. Potentially, yep. And if you were taller than me, you'd have an easier time, obviously.
I also think it's probably worth, we're having a discussion without an applicant here. Having visible solar panels, I don't necessarily think should be entered into the record as a universally negative thing. I think that I brought up the visibility before because it has to do with altering the historic character, but I think the main point is that it complies with Secretary of the Interior Standards number 10.
Well, and to that point, I mean, the fact that they can be removed is great, and I do appreciate that if people are willing to make this sort of investment in the historic district, I like to think that means they take caring for the homes seriously and things like that. So anyway, it's more of an emotional plea there. So yeah, I agree though that it wouldn't change something that couldn't be easily repaired, being the shingles, the roof. Yeah.
Right. And I think, that is the reason why they have a citizen panel, is to have a discussion about, well, how does this feel? So I agree with you. And Dana, these are folks that are right across the street from you, essentially, right?
Yeah, they're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're right down at the corner. And I looked out my window on the second floor, one of my second floor windows. It was like, I thought that was a flat roof. I mean, you can barely distinguish the roof, so.
Okay.
And besides number 10, too, looking at number 2, which I also cited, which is the historic character of a property will be retained and preserved. The removal
Yeah.
of spatial relationships that characterize the property. I think the mic cut out, so.
Okay, does anyone want to make a motion either way?
I'll make a motion to approve a certificate of appropriateness for the work as described in the application.
I will second that motion.
Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Christy?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Awesome. So I will be in touch with the applicant tomorrow. I don't believe that they called in, but I'll be in touch with them tomorrow to let them know that the work as proposed was approved.
Right. Okay. Do we have any other business to attend to?
One thing that I think we did skip at the top was the approval of the minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So if you guys want to slide that in now.
Can I get someone to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from our previous meeting on April 18th.
Second.
Could I just have a voice call on that? All approve, say yay.
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 And there's no nays, so that is approved. Okay, then not having any other business, I would say that this meeting is adjourned.
A couple more things.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just my report.
Whoop, whoop.
That's the last.
Sorry.
Bang that cat.
So there's not really anything of note in any of the reviews that I did, in my opinion, but you guys can look at them and see a lot of roofs are coming in now because the weather is getting nicer. I guess that's why that's coming in. I don't know. And then there was one other thing that I wanted to share with you, but I need to find the exact time of it. And of course, that's always a struggle for me. There's a walking tour of architectural sculpture here in the city of Kalamazoo on the 18th that's being hosted. So this Thursday, being hosted by the Historic Preservation Commission, Lynn Houghton and Jeff Morrison, who wrote the book Guardians of Michigan, which is an architectural sculpture book, will be in here to put on that talk. The tour begins at 4 p.m., and we'll kind of just walk around and look at some of the architectural sculpture here in the city of Kalamazoo. And then at 5 p.m., there will be a talk that's going on in the Van Dusen room. So if anyone's interested in attending that, feel free to come on down. Those are really the big things, but I just wanted to let you guys know that is going on.
That's Thursday?
Yes, that is Thursday. And if you don't make I know that 4 is when some folks are still in work, but I'm sure you could pop in.
And then, sorry again, where does it start?
The tour walks right in front of KPO down here downtown, in front of the library, and then the talk is in the Van Dusen room of the library, on the second floor, I think. Yeah.
All right.
That's all I have, unless you guys have any questions about any of the reviews or anything else that were from my report. Okay. Sorry that I jumped.
No, that's great. Yeah. Thanks.
That's all
I'm
that I
sorry
have.
for
No, not a
cutting you
problem.
off there.
No, not a
so, I guess now the meeting is adjourned. Thanks.